Hey, this is Coach T. I've got a quick video on format statements for you. Um, these are really neat, but they are one of those things that you want to practice writing a whole bunch. Whenever I'm writing my simple applications for teachers at this point, I use format strings. Basically, whenever I want to talk to the user in one way or another, whether I'm reporting data out to them or I'm asking them to do something, I constantly use format statements or F strings or F statements. They have a couple different names, both in C Sharp, which is indicated in a different way. It's got slightly different syntax, and also in Python. You're going to get used to using them, hopefully very quickly, and then it's going to be like a third arm. So the big idea here is that format statements or F strings, whatever, allow you to write a string with variables and expressions that are embedded in them more organically or more naturally. When I was learning about Python, one of the things that stood out to me and that people kept saying was that Python reads much more like English syntax. Well, an F statement gets about as close as you can possibly get to doing that by allowing you to write out an English syntax print statement or report to the user, and then you just embed the variables in there. And that also lets you easily change what could be contained inside of a string that's intended to be used by the reader but might show up many different times. By using a format or an F statement, it allows you to change every one of those so that you don't have to rewrite every single time. They're about as powerful as you can imagine using them. So the sky is kind of the limit on these things. So let's look at an example of how you might concatenate two particular variables to get a greeting like in an English statement. We've broken them up because we don't want to have to type good morning to every single person who puts their name in, right? In fact, let's do this in a slightly better way. We'll do input, type your name, right? And then it'll give you the salutation, right? So the salutation, good morning, and then eventually it'll give the greeting where it will concatenate these two variables together and it'll print it out. We'll run that very quickly. What are we doing? Get out of my face. Okay, so I'm going to type my name, Coach T, that's me. By the way, if you like these kind of head-first, really direct videos into one topic at a time in programming, or you're an adult learner, you're trying to get over some of the initial syntax hurdles, consider giving me a subscribe or whatever, or sharing this with other learners, because the whole reason I'm making these is I'm part of a couple of learning communities, mostly centered around adults trying to learn programming, and I noticed that there are a lot of people who are struggling with the real basics of syntax. They rushed ahead and then they kind of hit a wall and they get discouraged. So I want to help coach you through some of that basic low-level syntax stuff so that you can actually get over those walls and you can go build whatever you want to build. I'm a teacher in my day job. I'm a coach as well, so teaching kind of comes naturally to me, and heck, it's summer, so why not teach a little bit during the summer? I'm having fun with it. So anyway, we're typing our name, Coach T in this case, that's the name of my channel. So when I hit enter, it's going to say Coach T, good morning. What did I do wrong? I did something terribly wrong. Oh, I put I put salutation. I haven't had coffee yet this morning. That's part of the problem. My bad. All right, let's run that. Let's roll that back and run it again. Type your name, Coach T. All right, good morning, Coach T. Notice I forgot to include a space. That's kind of an issue, right? These are some issues that we can naturally run into when we use variable concatenation like that in order to produce a new string. It's a little bit ugly. Let me show you how to do it better. We want to use an F string. I'm going to keep that name input. We're going to dump, actually no, we'll keep the salutation, and I'm going to start an F string. So what I need in order to start an F string, I often talk about key components. You need the F. That tells Python, hey, pay attention to the format. Then we're going to type in a curly brace, and inside the curly braces, I'm going to type salutation, the name of my variable, right? If I double click on it, it shows you where it is, right? So this value, salutation variable is a literal, so it says print whatever the heck is in here. Don't change anything. And I can do a space organically because now I'm back in the string, and then I can do another curly brace, and I can say name. And now do an exclamation point. Let's do 3 because we're having a good morning, and we will print this greeting. So this format string is being stored in this variable greeting. It's combining the salutation, the space organically, and the name. This is, at least to me, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, much easier to read and to predict what the user is going to get. So let's run, type my name, and I'm going to show you something real quick. I will do all uppercase letters to prove a point. Good morning, Coach T, right? No issues. But these variables are variables that act just like they normally do anywhere else in the program. So you can run a method like title, and that will change the case of the character. So we'll run it one more time. And we'll do all caps. Where are we typing? Where did I type that? I don't know where I typed that. Okay, whatever. We'll do all caps, Coach T, and we'll run it. Look, it changed the case of my characters to be Coach T. In a previous video, I talked about for simplicity and to avoid crashing errors, you might want to consider using things like the lower, upper title methods to control what users put in. A lot of the time, what I might do is I would do like input dot lower like this, so that whatever the user types in, it just immediately lower cases it if possible, and then that way I will manipulate it in the F string to appear the appropriate way. If you're doing like a business name and it's on a header or something and you want it all in caps, you can just use upper. There's a whole bunch of different methods like that. I would recommend looking them up. So that's an F string. Here's another thing that's kind of neat. Let's say I want to say good evening instead, right? I can combine F strings like this. Time is not defined, right? So we will do, wrong button. We will do time equals input, type the time of day, right? Input, all right. Type the time of day, good time. So this could go terribly wrong if I give the user this much control, but let's just give it a shot and see what happens. All right, type my name. I am Coach T. Type the time of day. I forgot the colon, I forgot the space. I'm just mucking around here. We'll say it's the morning because it literally is the morning. Good morning, Coach T. So now I have an F string feeding into an F string, feeding into another F string in order to allow additional customization. I might not give this to the user, but I could pull that from time using Python's time functions to figure out, okay, if it's between these hours, give them a morning, an afternoon, an evening, whatever, and then feed that to a format string, and then I can feed that into a greeting. You can also print, this is the last thing before we quit for today, F to start your string, right in here, and I can say print time of day, right, and we will do input the time of day. I'll fix that right here, okay? So inside my curly braces, I will do time. So now that doesn't matter, that doesn't matter, that doesn't matter. I don't even have the greeting variable anymore. I'm just printing right into, I'm printing right into the command here. The downside to this though is that every time I want to call this, to do this, I'm going to have another print statement that says the same thing. So I like to store them in a variable and push that out to the print, but whatever. So time of day, morning, time of day, morning with my little typo there, right? So that works too. Bunch of different things you do in the F string. This is a little bit longer of a video than I wanted it to be for this topic, but there's so much you can do with format strings that if you get your head around them, it'll make your user interaction as the programmer more organic, more natural, and I think it makes putting together some of these critical user information strings much more clean. So that's it. If you like this, do the doodads. Otherwise, I'm out of here. I'm going to go drink some coffee and go see what Little Feet are up to.